Battlefield 6 has obviously been a success.
Here comes the money, 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 money,
Dollar, dollar.
And it has now been over a month since it released, and the honeymoon phase is now over. In this video I will be giving you my honest thoughts about Battlefield 6, so you can see if it's something that's worth your money. My review of Battlefield 6 is going to be a very subjective review, as I by all means am not their targeted audience. I usually hate arcade shooters and much more prefer more milsim kind of shooters, but my friends convinced me into buying Battlefield 6. If you just want the answer quickly, then yes, I think Battlefield 6 is good and worth to purchase, but it does have some problems and some very toxic systems. So without further ado, let's get to the actual review and start with the good aspects of Battlefield 6. And the first point is obviously going to be the gameplay, which is Battlefield 6's best selling point. Specifically, how versatile Battlefield is and allows for different playstyles, which to be honest wasn't something I was expecting from an arcade shooter. And I will quickly just add that this is my first ever encounter with the Battlefield franchise, so I must admit I thought it would be as brain rot as other arcade shooter titles. Turns out my assumptions were wrong. I am very pleased to see that you can play fast close quarters combat and play very slow as a sniper or support, or even use vehicles, giving the game a tactical element as well. Because to be honest with you, I don't like the close quarter slide and jump gunplay, so I'm glad the game gives me options to play in a different way. I prefer playing slow, sniping, spotting enemies, shooting mortars,
Yeah, boy.
being a mechanic or medic, and just supporting my team. Because I don't really like fast-paced arcade shooters, as I think they kinda suck. I know the background footage is fast-paced and kinda contradicts what I'm saying here, but that's for the video's sake. And I know it's a very subjective take that fast-paced shooters suck, but it's because I usually go for shooter titles that lean much more into milsim than arcade shooters, such as Tarkov is my most played shooter, so it's just my personal preference. But here in Battlefield, there is a place for both kind of shooter players. If you only like the close quarter, there's even game modes for that kind only. I think they suck, but hey, they are there. And the other way around, there is medium to kinda large scale game modes as well, meaning even players like myself who on paper probably wouldn't enjoy the franchise can. And I think this honestly says a lot about the game, as I'm really enjoying playing it, even though a player like me usually would not be their targeted audience, and I'm still having fun. I will say though, I feel like they've done a better job with the smaller maps, as the large maps feel a little cramped and as if you're forced to play in one route as the rest of the map has no cover. That plus the fact that every sniper have pinpoint accuracy because of the rangefinder being ridiculously overpowered, making you have perfect zeroing for every shot. That just makes these open areas unplayable on maps like the god-awful Blackwell Fields. So in my opinion, this could be fixed by a combination of making the maps bigger, more POIs, and nerfing the automated rangefinder, which in return would also make sniping more fun. As you can see in this clip, I just point and click and the shot hits automatically. It takes no skill and has no satisfaction to it, as I don't have to put in the range myself. And with bigger maps you have a better chance to break enemy line of sight, flank, and not just get fed into a linear meat grinder every game. Because many of the maps right now are very long and not very wide, because the sides of the map offers little cover. Next under gameplay, I want to mention the gunplay. The sound of the weapons is good. I like the animations when you shoot, reload, run and so forth. The guns also feel responsive to shoot, and visually I think they've put a lot of work into making the guns look good. I know a lot of players don't like it, but I gotta be honest, I enjoy the dispersion. I like that not all shots fired go exactly where you're aiming. And hot take, it might not be realistic, but it's one of my favorite parts about the gunplay. Hear me out. When I first started playing, I hated it and thought the gunplay was bad, until I learned the Battlefield recoil and dispersion system and how to utilize it. The dispersion makes it easier for players to run and duck for cover, as the player shooting at them doesn't have a laser beam. It increases the time to kill over range, making it easier for not so skilled players to survive, which in return lowers the skill floor, which makes it more accessible. That is for most players. Some players who are really good can control the dispersion and aim really well, so I also think the system is good for upping the skill ceiling. So all in all, I like the system. Some weapons, like in all games, are a bit too accurate and others are a bit too inaccurate though. But my absolute favorite kind of gameplay is the vehicle gameplay. And the vehicle gameplay is what sets Battlefield apart from other shooters in my opinion. I've never really played an arcade shooter with vehicles in it before, and I always thought that it didn't fit in. So I'm surprised to see how much I actually enjoy it. Driving tanks and IFVs is super fun, and your shots seem like there is some weight to them. And nothing beats busting down a building with a tank and clearing whoever might have been in there. And I pretty much love all the ground vehicles. I love playing with them, they make the game so much more cinematic and they create a lot of chaos. The air vehicles I have, however, not got to like yet, but that's mostly because I still suck at piloting them and it's been impossible to practice them in official servers due to a bug with painting. But we will talk more about bugs later in the video. But now that the bug is supposed to be fixed, it might be time to try and become a better pilot. And lastly, under gameplay, I just quickly want to mention the game setting, both gameplay wise but also targeted audience wise. So the gameplay is very authentic so far. It's obviously not realistic, but it is authentic enough to feel somewhat real to the player and give some very good immersion. I like the fact that you can destroy most buildings, or well, parts of the buildings. Many buildings can be totally destroyed, which is both a shame, but I also think it is good for balancing the map, both for defenders and attackers. We are already struggling with little to no cover in many areas, so it makes sense you can't remove all of the cover that's available at some spots. And when it comes to their targeted audience, it's easy to see that they are targeting a much more casual player base. There is no ranked mode. Many of the things going on in a match is goofy and chaotic. I mean, some of the most fun I've had is trying to kill people with R2-D2. And this does help sweats not get super toxic over losing rank points, you know, cause there are none. Same way many players don't really care about their KD ratio, because, you know, the tank drivers obviously will have higher KD, so it's gonna be inflated no matter what. This helps keep a better community in my opinion, even though the Battlefield community can be a little annoying when it comes to telling you to go back to Call of Duty in every single sentence. Luckily you can always just hide the chat and not open it, and then it essentially doesn't affect you. Next I want to talk about the design of Battlefield 6, or well, more specifically the sound and graphical design, because I really think it's immersive. Let's start with the graphics, because they are really good. We briefly touched on it with the weapons, but also the general graphics are really good. The only downsides to the good graphics is the game is kinda heavy to run. The footage you are seeing is Battlefield 6 at its absolute worst. I used the lowest settings because I have a PP poo-poo system and the game still looks really good. And even better than the looks is the sounds. Especially if you use the War Tapes audio setting. The gun sounds so good. And the sounds of helicopters and jets flying right above you is really well made and super immersive. As mentioned, I play on the War Tape audio setting, and I think listening for footsteps is quite easy with that setting, but it feels like sometimes players make no sound at all, but that might just be a skill difference on my end. So the sound is definitely not perfect when it comes to being competitive, but it delivers when it comes to making the game immersive and cinematic. Sadly, I think there is a bug that makes medics unable to hear you yell for them, because they seem to never come when you're downed. But yeah, all in all, the visuals and sound together makes the game sometimes feel like you are in a movie, and is a huge plus for me. My next positive point is going to be the game modes, because in my opinion there are some very good game modes, and there also are some god-awful game modes. I found myself really enjoy playing Conquest, Breakthrough and Rush, while I absolutely despise playing Team Deathmatch and all the very close quarter game modes. But that is my subjective take, because I don't like fast-paced arcade shooters. If you do, you will probably like those modes, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. I just think they offer you a worse way to use the Battlefield gunplay than the other game modes. Plus they also kinda remove the whole reviving mechanic. But anyways, if we look at it from a player-based perspective, it helps to switch up playstyles and keep the game fresh and content-filled for longer, as you can alter how the game is played. Just because I don't like deathmatch doesn't mean it's a bad game mode. I'm just not the targeted audience. Many players probably like it, so they can switch between the more tactical game modes and the brain rot. I'm just kidding. I think the huge difference in game modes is fun and keeps the game entertaining. at least for me, as I can get to play the different maps in different styles, making me go to places on the map I otherwise would avoid. There also is something called Portal, which seems very nice as it's community created maps, but honestly I haven't tried it because the server capacity was full all the time. There is an argument that this splits the player base, and personally I play on the European server, which is a huge server, so for me personally that isn't really a concern. I can see why it would be in lower populated servers, though I don't think this will split such a huge server's player base. And my last positive point is the co-op. I think the squad gameplay is very fun, especially with a full squad of friends where you all play each your role, because being a full squad of 4 players means you can utilize all 4 classes, and it really makes for some good co-op gameplay where you feel your class contributes a lot when you're playing each your role. Sadly, this is most likely only the case in a full pre-made squad, but when it works it's really good, especially in game modes like Rush or Breakthrough. It's very rewarding to slowly push the frontline up as a squad, as you can keep respawning on each other when you're out of combat. It feels very rewarding winning gunfights, pushing with your squad, reviving each other when down, and the dragging of down teammates feels very cinematic. I would have liked for the game to allow for bigger groups when it comes to queuing into a match together. The squad size of 4 is totally fine in-game, but it just sucks that you can't queue more players together. But yeah, overall, Battlefield 6 feels like an arcade shooter that meets a milsim, which is why I think it has been so successful, as it can pull in players from both universes. You can just take me as an example, as I usually have no interest in arcade shooters at all, but I still got pulled in. But now, let's get to my favorite part, complaining. And boy am I good at complaining. And I'm just gonna start out with my absolute biggest complaint about Battlefield 6, which is the monetization. Because holy shit are they trying to sell you some stuff. Why is the first thing I see when I start up my game an ad for cosmetics in the game I just paid $70 for? Why do I get the feeling that even though I bought the game for $70, I only got a portion of a game as the first thing when I launch it? There are so many different cosmetics you can buy. Buy this, buy that, it's kind of insane, and Battlefield Studios take every opportunity they can get to push them. Inbox mails, on the cover of the main menu, in the startup. I mean, the store is absolutely huge. There are so many cosmetics, so many rows of them. It's like going into a supermarket. And worst of all is the fact that they use the battle pass system, which I hate with a passion. It's a predatory anti-consumer system that preys on the consumer's fear of missing out and impulsive decision making. And this is not only tied to Battlefield 6, it's in general. The entire battle pass system is toxic. It shows you these few things you can get by playing the game and completing the battle pass, but would you look at all these things you could actually get if you bought the battle pass? It's honestly a disgusting way to try and sell your audience something. It is so anti-consumer, I hate it. And now that we are talking about toxic systems, I also don't like that they use the daily and weekly mission system, as I find it to be a toxic way to keep player retention. The daily quest system honestly isn't so bad, as they are fairly easy and only gives you experience towards your level, but again, still a system that preys on the fear of missing out, and I would personally much rather just not have any of it in the game. I know I can just choose to not partake, but there is a reason games use the systems, because it works and people will do them, myself included, because I don't want to miss out on the huge experience boosts. Instead, just focus on making a better game, so I'll keep returning for that and not return to try and do your daily missions to get experience. Now that we're already talking about bad systems within Battlefield, let's talk about the UI. And just to be very clear, my problem is with the loadout UI. I think the in-game UI is actually pretty good. It's not cluttered and it's not unexisting. I've seen people complain about the big Netflix lookalike UI. I don't really have a complaint about that. I don't think it's that big of a deal. To me, it's the fact that it's hard to navigate. First time you have to find out where to customize your weapons. It's literally easier to achieve a PhD than it is to customize your weapons. I mean, just ask Dr. Mike. Jokes aside, the first couple of times you use the UI, it's so bad. It gets better in time, but man could that use some help to make it more intuitive for players to navigate. Next, let's talk about the downsides to the gameplay, and let's start with the campaign. The campaign, in my opinion, is truly terrible. Okay, I take that back. After having seen the Call of Duty Black Ops 7 campaign, I now fully understand what truly terrible means, so I take it back. I just want to say that it's bad.
Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
Not so much the writing, I mean, it's not good by any means, it's quite forgettable, but it's not super bad either. The problem for me is how super poorly the campaign runs. I mean, this guy doesn't even have his hands on the steering wheel. Your teammates teleport in and out of vehicles. Enemies just straight up despawn. You can't run like 2 meters ahead of your teammates before getting out of bounds. And this is just a small list of the technical problems the campaign has. The characters are all also boring because you don't know anything about them. I mean, even Ghost from Timur here is boring. And here you play as McNally, the opener of master locks, who can open any lock by pulling on the lock body. Anyways, jokes aside, the last one was a reach, I know. The campaign is clearly rushed, and I know the devs said they didn't have the time to make it good, so I'm not gonna tear them a new one for this. But it's annoying that it's in the game I bought for $70 when they could have worked on other stuff instead of releasing a half-hearted attempt at a campaign. Which brings me to my next point, which is lack of weapons and maps, as I think the game could have used some more maps especially. I know more are coming, but here they could have used some of the dev time from the failed campaign. And lastly, under gameplay, I just want to quickly touch on Redsec, because in my opinion, it's not that interesting. Just to be clear, I'm talking about the Battle Royale part of Redsec. The Gauntlet game mode is quite solid and offers some fun little mini games. Because Redsec, it's just a Battle Royale with tanks, helicopters and the battlefield gameplay. I must admit, I don't find it special in any way. I'm not this genre's targeted audience. I find all of them boring. The only reason why I would play this over other Battle Royales is because of the battlefield gameplay, and I think it's worse at delivering that than the normal multiplayer is. So yeah, to me it's quite underwhelming. I think personally, it's a bit like drinking lukewarm coffee. It's not bad, but neither is it exciting in any way. If you like Battle Royales, it's probably good, but I don't enjoy them at all, so I know my take is very biased. And my last complaint about Battlefield 6 is with the bugs and the bad netcode. So the game launched with a decent amount of bugs, some not so bad, and others straight up game ruining, with the two biggest ones being the paint bug and the drone bug. I'm not gonna explain them as they are fixed now, and there are many other videos showcasing them. You can just go find it on YouTube. Also because my problem with these bugs are also more tied to the reaction time of the developers, or well, the lack of, as they were ruining the game for literally 4 weeks before getting patched, which is simply too long and definitely something they need to avoid happening again, as it really slows the game's momentum. And lastly, the netcode. It is not in the best state, with bullets not registering, but by far the worst is the desync. I sadly wasn't recording when this happened, but I took a screenshot of it and I just want to show you. I mean, what am I supposed to do here? This guy straight up shot me through a brick wall. I'm sure that on his end, this kill didn't look as BS as from my end, and it really ruins the game experience, and hopefully not something that will suffer under another round of slow reaction time by the developers, because it really does suck when your death is being placed around a corner. Now let's get to the conclusion. While I think there definitely are some problems with Battlefield 6, I think it has a strong foundation to build off, and I really think it is fun, and the core gameplay works and is entertaining and cinematic, and I think these are the game's biggest selling points. I honestly believe that Battlefield does more right than it does wrong. I'm just a bit scared of the direction the game is taking with the huge amount of monetization, and it's honestly my only really big complaint about the game. I just hope the devs push more actual content instead of suffocating their player base with cosmetics. And hopefully they will keep the monetization to skins that are authentic, as that might be their single biggest selling point. But all in all, I think the game is good and worth a purchase, and I think that says a lot, as I'm normally not into these game genres. Anyways, that's gonna be it for me. If you're still watching, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed. If you liked the video, please drop a like and maybe even consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. And remember, never spend your hard-earned cash on unappreciating greedy game studios.